Ellis Island, the name of the work by Benjamin Verdery, and performed by a terrific all-star cast of New York guitarists and other instrumentalists from the stage of Brookfield Place in the Winter Garden Atrium at Brookfield Place. Part of our 2015 series of New Sounds Live events, Ben Verdery, although a guitarist, conducted the ensemble here. The guitarists, all 14 of them, William Anderson, Pat Bianculi, Steve Bloom, Marco Keppeli, Oren Fader, Kevin Gallagher, Paul Hemmings, Ko Kazama, Nadav Lev, Dan Lapel, Jeff Lippman, David Moreno, Mark Wolf, and Max Zuckerman. Bonita Levinsky played the flute, Mark Martin was the beatboxer, Ina Laterra played the violin. A late addition on vocals was Jessica Bowers. Ellis Island, the name of the work. Now, 2 of those 14 guitarists came back the next night, plugged in, and were part of our all-live performance of Steve Reich's Electric Counterpoint. And we will hear that in just a moment. You're listening to some of the music from New Sounds Live at Brookfield Place.
Columbia University's football team went 2 straight seasons without a win, and turning things around won't be simple. No one knows this better than new head coach Al Bagnoli.
In order to improve, little things have to be solved. And it's never just one huge thing, it's a combination of little things.
I'm Ilya Marritz, host of The Season, WNYC's new podcast about winning, losing, and what it takes to change the score, told in real time. Go to wnyc.org/theseason.
These days, sound comes at us from all angles and in all shapes and sizes. Q2 Music tames the noise, playing the most dynamic contemporary classical music, from familiar voices to exciting up-and-comers and vibrant live performances. Discover a world of new, groundbreaking music. Click on Q2 Music from the Streams link at wnyc.org.
Don't forget to check us out online for more new sounds. You can subscribe to our free podcasts. Playlists are there to tell you what you've heard on each program, and you can hear them again in our audio archives anytime you like. That's at newsounds.org. And don't forget Guitar Mash this Sunday at City Winery, led by Mark Stewart. I'll be hosting that event, and it'll be a guaranteed good time Sunday afternoon. Details on that at guitarmash.org. All right, we heard from Mark Stewart earlier in the program, briefly introducing the Fred Frith piece that the electric guitar quartet known as Dither performed for us. Now we're going to hear the big work around which this October 15th concert was built. This is the middle of our 3 consecutive nights in the 2015 series at Brookfield Place. And it was credited to Dither and friends. Those friends included Mark Stewart, as well as 8 other guitar and bass guitarists to perform Steve Reich's Electric Counterpoint. And since Mark has a history with the piece, we asked him to help introduce it. We did a New Sounds Live event at Merkin Hall some years ago where you played it the conventional way. You played solo, and I don't remember whether you recorded the backing tracks or whether you used Pat Metheny. Steve Reich originally wrote the work for Pat Metheny, and so you can play to his backing tracks. How different an experience is it to have the piece played with 13 guitarists live, one to a part?
As you can imagine, it's a very different experience, and one that I am so happy to share with you all tonight with all my colleagues. This has been such a labor of love for us to do this. And I do want to say that 10 years ago, it almost wouldn't have been possible. And 20 years ago, certainly not. It's a very strange little toolkit that an electric guitarist needs to play this piece accurately and without getting lost and grooving, and yet having a sense of, for lack of a better expression, classical discipline. And it's a set of skills that has become more common over the last 2 decades.
Well, I remember maybe a couple of years after Steve wrote the piece, asking him, would it be possible for this to be performed live? And he said, well, it'd be possible, but it isn't likely.
Right.
Now,
yeah.
as you say, there are electric guitarists who've grown up in both worlds.
That's
they have
right.
classical chops. They can hit a groove and stay there.
Yeah.
Still, you're walking a tightrope.
Yeah.
If somebody drops a stitch, the whole thing unravels. 'cause
Yeah,
everything
no,
is...
there is danger involved. It's really thrilling for there to be danger, and there always is with Steve's music. I mean, I don't mean that to sound. I mean, there's danger and there's danger. I mean, it's
no one's going to get hurt.
no one's getting hurt.
Yeah.
But I do want to share. I toured for years with Steve's ensemble, Steve Reich and musicians, playing this piece and playing it with Pat Metheny's recorded tracks. And one particular tour, we were going all over Italy, playing in these beautiful little opera houses, just exquisite gems that had been kept in excellent condition or restored lovingly. And every night I would watch as Steve's band would come out, and they do these wonderfully cooperative pieces together, and then I would go out alone, say hit it, and do my artful karaoke. And I was starting to get very lonely and wondering, why am I here? And then I realized that actually my presence did make a difference. And in fact, instead of worrying so much about it being a performance, I should think of it more as an installation. And which really helped free me up and made the piece much more enjoyable to perform, and I'm sure more enjoyable to hear. But there is no substitute for what you're about to hear. Everyone here making the music together, relying on one another. A tremendous amount of trust happens in Steve's music, and this piece is no exception.
So, are you part number one? Are you the soloist part?
We got together, and everyone was referring to my part as the soloist, and I said, okay, I'm going to stop that right now. My part is hitherto to be referred to as the laziest. I'm the only person here who didn't have to learn a new part. Everyone knows the solo part, so I am the laziest. Yes.
So there are 13 parts, 11 guitars and 2 bass guitars, and the piece is in a kind of standard fast, slow, fast, kind of traditional, almost like a Baroque concerto style thing. And there is that kind of rhythmic drive that you get with Baroque concertos and stuff. But then in the third movement, you get this kind of swinging beat. You begin to get some of Steve's influence in jazz and popular music, right?
Well, and I would say definitely Africa comes through loud and clear. You have this wonderful shift between the subdivisions, the binary subdivisions, and the triple subdivisions. So you get this zaga-daga, and then zaga-daga, which is the hallmark of African music. There are all these wonderful subdivisions going on at the same time.
Yeah.
And it's writ large in that movement. In fact, we move in that way as an ensemble. Yeah.
So the piece is called